Whenever winter rolls around, it's always a challenge to learn how to stay warm and look good. Today I'm going to be giving you my top 5 tips about how to stay warm and look cute. I haven't mentioned this to you guys in a while, but I want to remind you that I have a really great free resource for you, and it is 29 classic items that every woman should own. So if you haven't got your totally free guide, go to one of these links up here or a link in the description box below and download that free guide so you can get started dressing for winter. Some of you may not know this, but I actually lived in Chicago for 8 years while I was attending school there, and I knew nothing about dressing for winter when I first arrived because I was from Texas. Now I live in the southern part of the United States again, and winter is still kind of a challenge here because it does get quite cold, but it's not as cold as Chicago, so I've got some experience when it comes to learning how to dress moderately warm and dressing for really, really cold weather. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into tip number 1. You need to choose 100% natural fabrics as much as you humanly can. I'm talking about leather and silk, cotton, cashmere, alpaca, linen, and so on. If it is naturally derived, then it is going to do a phenomenal job at keeping you really warm, and it's going to last you a super long time. If you're vegan, I have a alternative for you in tip number 4, so stay tuned for that. And let's go ahead and move on to tip number 2, which is related to tip number 1. When you're choosing natural fabrics, it's really important for layering that you choose thin fabrics that you can build up and layer so you get that extra added benefit of insulation. So right now I'm actually wearing a silk blouse, which you may not know that silk is actually one of the most warm insulating fabrics. There are even such things as silk underwear or silk long underwear, like long johns, that you can put on underneath many fashionable layers of clothing. If you wore a silk camisole or if you wore a silk shirt like this and added a really thin cashmere sweater or cardigan and then your outer layer, you would be so toasty and just absolutely bundled up, but you would not ever feel bulky, and that is what we're going for. We want to stay fashionable and cute without feeling like frumpy and weighted down or sweaty, which can happen in the winter time, believe it or not. But also too, if you're layering up during winter, you need to be able to peel off some of those layers so that when you go indoors, you're not absolutely boiling. That is the trick, to make sure that you choose natural fabrics but really thin layers so that you can add on and take off whether you're inside or whether you're outside. Which leads me to tip number 3, and this is a really important one that might seem super obvious, but a lot of people forget about this, and that is that you have to choose the right kind of outer layer, so the right kind of winter coat more specifically. Winter coats come in all shapes and sizes, but what I learned very quickly from living in Chicago, the windy city, is that if there is even one little shred of body that is not covered by that coat, I'm going to feel the frigid cold. And that led me to looking for coats that were really functional, but also really fashionable. So I don't want bell sleeves or short 3/4 length sleeves. I certainly don't want things that don't have buttons or zippers that are gonna fully close me in. And I want things that hit at the knee or below. That way I feel very warm and snug as a bug in a rug. Again, going back to tip number 1, you need to make sure that that winter coat, that outer layer, is super well made. So if you're gonna get 100% wool or leather, you should be good to go, but make sure that it is a thick, quality, well-made piece and something that is just durable and is going to protect you from the elements, whether it's rain or sleet or snow or just really cold wind. And one of the great examples I have is my shearling coat, which is a unique thing, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. And you might have wondered, how did people from ages past stay warm? This is how they stayed warm. They used natural materials that were really, really warm and insulating. So a shearling coat is actually fleece lined naturally, and then the suede leather part of the skin is put as the outer shell. So you're really insulated with fleece on the inside, the lining is fleece, and the outside is leather suede. So it's very warm. Now, I mentioned if you're vegan, before, which I think can be a challenge. And this may or may not work for you if you're vegan, but consider it. And that leads me to tip number 4, which is shopping secondhand. If you don't want to contribute to either pollution, or you want to shop sustainably, or you don't want to contribute to animal cruelty, I have heard some people say that shopping secondhand is a great way to source leather, silk, wool, cashmere, those kinds of things, because they're just so naturally fantastic at keeping you warm. Now, if that works for you, great. If it doesn't, then I would really recommend looking into alternative fabrics that are recycled and just continuing to do the layering up. You know, choose thin layers and continue to build those layers upon your body so that you stay super insulated and warm. You have done so great. You've made it to the final tip. Tip number 5 is a good one. It's a practical one. Your mom and your grandma will love me for telling you this, and that is to pay attention to your extremities. That means your arms, your hands, your feet, your legs, and your head. When it's super cold outside, there's a temptation to want to sacrifice style for comfort and for staying warm, and I think that's obviously the safest thing to do. But nowadays, there are so many beautiful options for us that there's no reason why we have to sacrifice looking cute and staying warm. So you want to look at hats that are 100% wool or cashmere or even leather. You know, check out a wide variety of hats like a wool fedora or a wool beret, or even, you know, like a cashmere beret or a cashmere beanie. Then you can also look into things like vests and scarves. Gloves that are really insulated, cashmere lined leather gloves are fantastic. And also making sure that your feet and your toes are really well protected, because that's where you lose most of your body heat, and that's what ends up making you feel cold anyways. So if you invest in a really good pair of wool socks or cashmere socks or really heavy cotton socks, then you're going to feel good naturally without having to try too hard. And then you add on a really nice boot, like a all-weather rain boot that's really cute looking, or even a leather boot with a leather sole. You're gonna be warm, I promise you. It's all about adding these 5 things together to create a whole look that makes you feel warm and toasty and protected, but still looking absolutely adorable. That is it, you guys. I am so grateful for you. Please like this video if you liked it, and share it with a friend who lives in a very cold climate. And don't forget to leave me a comment below letting me know what your warm winter weather dressing tips are. I can't wait to hear from you, and I hope you have a fantastic week wherever you are. Take care, guys. Bye.